Please welcome Steve Weagle.
Thank you. Thanks, Dennis. Usually I start off by making some lame joke, apology about the rain today, but with a room full of meteorologists, it really doesn't, it's not going to work. I think we had a lot of successes with Irma. Obviously, one of the most surreal hurricanes to cover down here because a lot of the impacts and the challenges came before the storm, with everyone evacuating well before they needed to, and a lot of people evacuating who didn't need to. And that's one of our challenges. And I think the other challenge for the media is social media and getting the word out, getting it out properly, and hitting as many people as you can with the message, and at the same time toning down what I call the armchair meteorologists who are out there at home trying to do their own forecasts, and usually with dire predictions of what's going to happen. I think in this hurricane, which made it so unique, is that started at least a week out. I live about 15 miles north on 95 in Jupiter, and I remember probably a week before the storm hit, driving home at midnight, and it's a unique area because 95 and the Turnpike meet, and you can easily transfer over from the Turnpike to 95. And I watched at midnight miles of cars a week ahead of time, no watches, no warnings, not in a cone, people evacuating. And at first I thought, okay, this is just a blip. No one's telling anyone to leave, and it just continued for days and days. They were escaping the Turnpike and the mess up toward Orlando and trying to get to 95 just to outrun the storm. So I think it started well before we were even in the cone. I call it the Harvey effect. Everyone saw Harvey a few weeks earlier. They saw the rain, and that was another message that we were trying to convince people that it wasn't going to be a big rain event for us. It was going to be more of a wind event. So there were a lot of challenges with it, but I've never seen evacuations and so many people evacuating who didn't need to a week ahead of the storm. I have a little theory, and I know it's come up at a few conferences recently about human behavior. And I think in Category 1 and 2 hurricanes, we actually listen to the facts. But when you have a serious threat and you're under a lot of stress, facts don't matter anymore, and it's just the emotion, and it's the what are my neighbors doing, and if they're evacuating, I'm evacuating. And I think with Irma being a forecast for a Cat 4 or Cat 5, people just forget about the facts and just went. And a lot of people evacuated from this area and went to Tampa or went up to Orlando. And normally we would get a lot of backlash after the fact. Hey, you told us to leave or whatever, which we didn't. But normally we would get that backlash. And that didn't happen this time. And I think people, when they got back home, realized, I didn't need to evacuate. I should have listened to what the message was.
Sometimes when you're in wall-to-wall coverage, what comes out from the newsroom and is set in front of the news anchors really isn't what you wanted to convey out to your viewers. How do you get past that?
I correct them.
I used to do that too.
I mean, in a hurricane situation, you pretty much have to. Yeah. I think a lot of it's tone. I found, and I wasn't, when they first started coming out from the Hurricane Center, the products that, the wind probability products, at first I wasn't a big fan of them. I just thought viewers wouldn't understand what, as you said, the fractions and all those numbers meant. But I think those graphics do a great job at showing uncertainty. And I've started using them the last 3 or 4 years, and I find a different response after the fact if the storm hasn't had the impact they thought it would. I think they realize now, oh, there is some uncertainty, whereas before you would show the cone and it was like a definite thing to them. This is going to happen, it's going to be this strong. When you show those percentages, I think it clicks in, hey, this isn't, there's a lot of uncertainty here, even out 24 hours. So I think those graphics really help in conveying the message. But you're right, I didn't really answer your question, but there's so much information coming in from emergency management, from the Hurricane Center, from the local weather service offices, and we're reaching almost a breaking point now with the information and getting it out there, and it's all relevant, but it's sometimes difficult to get it out and put it out properly. And then we have radio, we have our app, we have TV, we have Facebook and Twitter, and there's just so many avenues to get the word out now too. It's pretty involved. It's much different than when I started 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm. And while all that's going on, you've got also the crawl running on the bottom.
Yeah,
that's also additional.
That's right. And
it's information overload, and you're the traffic cop.
Right, and yeah, I'm supposed to watch all of it.
Right.
And there was a time when that was pretty easy to do. Now it's almost impossible.
Television stations have to have a very unique plan because they're the communicators. How do you deal with that?
Well, we have a plan. Our plan is to go, I believe, still to Boca. I think it's Lynn University, but it's never going to kick in because we're not in an evacuation zone where our building is, and when we evacuate, the wind is going to be 120, 130 miles an hour. So no one's going to drive down I-95 to go to Lynn University. So we have a plan, but I can't ever see it kicking in. Yeah, I always tell people, don't ride through a hurricane alone because your mind just plays games. It's kind of, I compare it to flying with severe turbulence, and you're always thinking the next bump is going to be the one that takes you to the ground. And when the pilot comes on and says, "Listen, we got another 10 minutes of this, and then we're fine," there's a relief that you feel, and it's the same in a hurricane. My wife didn't want to leave our house, and we have hurricane windows now, so she can watch the whole thing. So I wanted her. I didn't want her to ride out the storm alone. She has friends. She has a place to go. So before the storm, maybe 4 or 5 days before, I walked her to the window, and we looked out, and I said, "Okay, imagine Sunday, all those trees are gone. You want to watch that?" And she's like, "Absolutely not." And then she went to the friend's house. Because I said, that is a possibility here.
And it's been my experience that